Hi, my name is Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss the quite unprecedented level of lying that Boris Johnson engages in during exchanges in the House of Commons, and how his lies about the UK economy in particular are both extreme and hazardous to our country. But first, if you'd like to stay notified of daily news and politics, then please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So, a little background to the concept of lies in the House of Commons, first of all. So, politicians lie. We know that. It's an unfortunate fact of life. It would be more comforting if deliberately misleading the public, as a member of the government at least, but member of parliament really, if it was illegal, because then there would be severe consequences for lying and they'd think twice about it. But for that to happen, MPs would have to enact that legislation themselves. In other words, they'd have to enact a law that stops them engaging in their normal activities. And for those who are never quite sure what is the balance of honest to dishonest politicians, consider this. If a majority of members of parliament were actually honest and therefore somehow disadvantaged by all the dishonest ones, they would enact a law that would make it illegal. Because why would honest politicians want to be disadvantaged? But there you go. But a line is usually, or at least has in the past, been drawn when speaking in Parliament itself. Ministers will deliberately misuse statistics. They will mislead in parliaments. They will deliberately misuse statistics, but they won't tell an outright objective lie. David Cameron, Theresa May were known for lying quite a lot, but their lies in the House were entirely based on dodgy statistics. But Boris Johnson is different. He will tell the most outrageous lies and cares absolutely nothing for conventions, because it is simply a convention that you don't lie in the House. There can in theory be consequences, but they have to be voted on by MPs, and Boris Johnson has got a majority. So yesterday in Prime Minister's questions, he repeated a lie that he'd already told the previous week about the growth of the economy under the Conservatives. Now, this is exactly the sort of lie that needs to be exposed. It matters, because a lot of people, when they're judging the success or failure of Brexit, are going to consider the effect on the economy. If a person does very badly under Brexit, they may imagine that maybe they were just one of the unlucky ones, because in any economic change, there are winners and losers. If it's a benefit to the country, there are more winners than losers. That's how it's judged. So if they are told that the economy is doing really well, they'll think, well, I'm one of the unlucky ones, but everyone else is doing great. And they'll think that Brexit is a success. If the economy is doing very badly, even if they're doing all right, but that means that most people are doing very badly out of it, well, then it's not a success. And, you know, if Boris Johnson says it's doing well when it isn't, people are going to be fooled into thinking that Brexit is a success. So, Boris Johnson yesterday claimed that the British economy grew by 73% under the Conservatives, down to their policies. And this is just a lie. It hasn't. Nowhere near it. And it's a lie that needs exposing along two lines. The first of one is that it is just a straight up lie. And this isn't misuse of statistics, because this is just the amount at which the economy has grown over that time. You get it from the Office of National Statistics. Ministers don't do anything to massage those figures or define those figures. The actual figure is 20%. So he's saying 73%. The actual figure is 20%. Now, you know, those of us who are not economists might think to ourselves, well, what is 20% growth in 10 years? I mean, is that good or not? We don't know. We don't know, do we? I mean, you might imagine that it's not good, because Boris Johnson is having to lie about it. If 20% growth was good, he would say, we've grown the economy by 20%. That's going to be good enough for the ordinary person on the street, isn't it? We don't know what is supposed to be good or bad growth. But he said 73%. And he wasn't just embellishing it by a little bit, massaging it. You know, it was like 23.5%, and he said about 25%. No, there's none of that. He's embellished it by nearly 4 times the actual rate. Well over 3.5 times the actual rate. And for comparison, because again, is that good or is it not? I don't know. What's the average in the world? What's the global economic growth been since 2010, since the Conservatives came to power? About 50% more than it has been. It's been more like 3% for the world. The Conservatives have delivered us roughly 2%. If you were to average it out for the 10 years, obviously it doesn't quite work like that, compound effects and so on. But the global economy has grown by about 50% more than the UK economy in that time. Take from that what you will. Take from that what you will. Second, the second way in which this sort of lie needs to be tackled is in terms of sharing the wealth. So ask yourself this simple question. Why do people care about the performance of their country's economy? I mean, if I were to go out onto the street, into the average British street with an average British person on that British street and say, are you interested in the economy of South Africa? The answer is very likely to be not really, no. And so why would they care about the British economy? Because it's theirs and they have a stake in it. But that line of thinking goes like this. You know, the ordinary person on the street thinks that they are benefiting when their country enjoys economic growth, and strong economic growth at that. So if Boris Johnson reckons that his government has grown our economy by 73%, ask yourself where all that extra money has gone. Have wages increased by 73%? Have your wages increased by 73% since 2010? Maybe it has for some people. Some people inevitably will have seen that much growth. But for most people, I assure you, it has not. Our old friend, the Office for National Statistics again. In real terms, in other words, when adjusted for inflation, wages now, right now, are basically the same as they were when the Conservatives came to power. It was much lower. And you may be thinking, oh, well, you know, that was the global crash. They came in a couple of years after it. No. The wage that obviously does cause wages to decline. But the decline in wages in real terms when the Conservatives came to power took a sharp decrease. And remember, the Labour had sort of been rescuing the economy for a couple of years. It was the decline in wages was more severe and more protracted than not only had it been under Labour, but than it was in other similar economies around the world as well. So if the economy really had grown by 73%, then what Boris Johnson is basically boasting is that we've all worked harder to be more productive, to be 73% more productive in the last 10 years. But all that money has gone into the pockets of billionaires because we haven't seen it. Wages now are the same as they were then. They're the same. That means all that extra money has gone somewhere else. But of course, it hasn't grown by 73%. But it has grown. It has grown by 20%. That's still growth, but wages haven't. So that extra money the country has generated really has been going into the pockets of the 1%. And that still needs to be exposed as well. So the question needs to be, Boris Johnson says, we've grown the economy by 73%. The question to him needs to be, why haven't we seen wages increase by 73% then? Get him to answer that, you know, and hopefully we're going to have an opposition before long. I hope it is a hope at the moment where the opposition will be led by someone who will expose these lies more effectively than the current incumbent seems able to do. Not that it's the fault of any opposition for government lies, but it is their job to shoot those lies down. But until then, it is important that we keep this conversation up amongst ordinary people in the country, expose the lies, point out the fallacies in the lies, even if they believe them, before those lies can establish themselves and become fact. So I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, then please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.